I'm heading out now. I made dinner and put it in the fridge so you can heat it up and eat it, okay? After an early dinner in the evening, I wrapped up the other portion to save for later. This was my husband Victor's dinner. I could just leave the meal out, but that somehow feels lonely. That's why I make it a practice to prepare meals in advance and leave a note when I have night shifts. My name is Kate Smith. I work at a major fast food chain restaurant, doing shift work including night shifts. Shift work can be taxing on the body, but I find fulfillment in my job. On nights when I work, I use more energy than on other days. Therefore, it's necessary that I have a solid meal in the evening to store up energy. Victor works a set schedule from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays. Because our work schedules are different, we seldom have meals together. Sometimes we do eat together, but we mostly eat separately. We don't see each other often, and opportunities for dates are limited. However, we understand each other's work commitments, and the motivation to work hard now to travel to various places in the future keeps us going. When we need to talk or share something, we make time even if it's brief to communicate directly. When we can't speak face to face, I sometimes write notes and leave them on the table in the living room. We haven't set any special rules between us, but we both believe in not keeping things bottled up, so we exchange notes. Ever since we started to exchange notes, the loneliness of not speaking has disappeared, and above all, the warmth felt from the words is comforting. Yesterday, a customer I served praised me a lot and said they'd come again. That's great. My work went smoothly as well yesterday, and I came home feeling good. The meat and potatoes you made were really delicious. I appreciate it. Even after 5 years of marriage, Victor never forgets to express his gratitude after meals. Why do you always make sure to express gratitude? I had asked him once before. If you feel something but don't put it into words, it's as if you don't feel it at all, don't you think? I love and respect that mindset of his. That's why I wanted to express my gratitude too. When I come back from night shifts, I usually fall asleep before Victor wakes up, but that day I waited for him to wake up, quietly watching his sleeping face. When Victor woke up, he was surprised to see me there. I love you. Huh, you weren't sleeping? Why? I wanted to tell you, so I stayed awake. Realizing this, Victor gently hugged me. I felt truly happy. Wanting to express gratitude when Victor wakes up was sparked by a moment at work. Does your husband also have night shifts, Mrs. Smith? No, he has a fixed schedule during weekdays. Isn't it lonely with your times so mismatched? Seeing each other a few times a week would be nice, I guess. Really? Is there even a point to being married then? Aren't you lonely? What about the risk of cheating? Haha. I felt irritated by such unfounded assumptions and comments. That won't happen. Don't be so sure about it. What if you suddenly get divorced? I wondered how someone could say such things without considering other people's feelings. But a slight uncertainty started to grow in the corner of my heart. What if I'm overlooking something? If Victor has any complaints, am I not aware of them? I decided to discuss these comments with Victor. Victor hugged me and gently stroked my head as he reassured me. There's nothing I'm unsatisfied with. I'm happy right now. Let's always stay together, okay? Of course. I once again felt the importance of communication. Thinking about how my days with Victor would continue to pass like this was comforting. One evening, when Victor and I were having dinner together after a long time, his phone rang. Who could it be at this late hour? Huh, Mom? Your mother. Maybe something happened. Hurry and answer. Okay. It was unusual for Victor's mother, Susan, to call, and both Victor and I immediately worried about her health. As Victor took the call and listened to his mother, I watched his reaction, and his expression gradually became stern. What? You decided that on your own? Victor continued the conversation with his mother in an unusually sharp tone. Wait a minute. It seemed like the conversation was one-sided, and then she apparently hung up the phone. What happened? According to Victor, renovation work due to a real estate mistake was scheduled at his mother's apartment. Although another residence was offered, his mother refused it and decided to come to our place instead. Victor has an older brother by 5 years who has 3 children and is busy with daily life. His mother had first contacted his brother, but he had declined, saying, "I have my hands full with the kids, so it's difficult for mom to come here." So she decided, "Then I'll go to Victor's place," and called. "What? Does that mean she's coming to our place?" "That's right. Starting tomorrow." Victor looked troubled. Living with my mother-in-law was unexpected, and I felt internally disordered and full of anxiety about what to do. For now, I'll look for a place for mom to live in. I'd appreciate it if you could bear with it for a while. Understood. If there's anything she dislikes, let me know in advance. Thus, we started preparing for this unexpected event of living with my mother-in-law, such as clearing space for her. The next day, I happened to have a day off, so I decided to welcome her. At 8 a.m., the doorbell suddenly rang. "Ha, this early?" When I looked at the monitor, there was Victor's mother, Susan, standing there. "Good morning. Good morning. You don't come out even though I've been ringing the bell, do you?" My mother-in-law said that and entered the house without any hesitation. I felt uneasy about what was to come. My premonition turned out to be right. She lived completely on her own terms, without adjusting to our lifestyle as a couple. I was trying to be positive about it, but honestly, it was quite selfish. She would start eating as soon as dinner was prepared and take a bath immediately after finishing her meal. Of course, the dishes she used were always left on the table. In our home, we shared household chores, but it was clear from the first day that she had no intention of helping. The next day, when I mentioned that dinner might be late because I have work, my mother-in-law visibly showed her displeasure. "I want to eat dinner at 7 p.m. What kind of daughter-in-law doesn't prepare meals at a set time?" Despite being busy with work, I was internally irritated by such comments. It was really unreasonable considering I had already explained that my work schedule might cause irregular meal times. "I will prepare so you can have dinner at 7 p.m. "Oh, okay." After her brief reply, my mother-in-law went back to her room. I prepared to make sure she could have her meal exactly at 7 p.m., readying a simple set of 1 soup and 3 dishes. It was a lot of work, but I thought it was much better than constantly being nagged. This should be fine. After preparing the meal for my mother-in-law before my night shift, I headed to work feeling relieved. However, that feeling was completely overturned when I returned home from the night shift. Exhausted, I entered the living room and found my mother-in-law sitting in a chair. "Ah, good morning, mother. What a leisurely good morning. What was that dinner? Serving food that isn't freshly made? What kind of thoughtless daughter-in-law are you?" For every complaint I made, she returned twice as many. Unsure how to respond and feeling incapable of dealing with it anymore, tears spontaneously flowed. I eventually decided to tell Victor everything. "Sorry, Victor. I don't know how to deal with your mother anymore." I sent Victor an email explaining the situation and then covered my head with a blanket. I wanted to put some distance between myself and my mother-in-law. "I'll listen to everything about today, so I'll come home right after work ends." Receiving a message from Victor, I finally managed to get some sleep. As planned, Victor came home right after work. "Shall we go out for dinner tonight?" He suggested that, and told my mother-in-law to eat something on her own before taking me out. My mother-in-law was complaining as usual, but I didn't mind because Victor pulled my hand. When Victor heard about the situation with his mother, his face hardened with anger. "I can't forgive her for trampling on your kindness just because she's my parent. Don't worry, I'll talk to her directly when we get back." As Victor said this and stroked my back, his words warmed my heart. A smile naturally came to my face. "Thank you. I'm really sorry, Kate. I hate to see you so troubled. I'll make sure you can always keep smiling." When we returned home, my mother-in-law still looked unsatisfied as she looked at me. "Why do you feed me whatever and go out to eat yourselves? Take me with you next time." With Victor by my side, her words didn't carry the usual force. "Mom, isn't the way you speak to Kate far too harsh? If you're going to speak like that, you might as well leave." Victor said out loud what I'd been thinking, and I was very grateful to him. However, my mother-in-law just calmly drank her coffee and affected. I was just astonished, and Victor continued to speak. Are you listening? Do you have anything to say? This is my son's house, which makes it my house. A daughter-in-law is an outsider, so of course, she should listen to what I say. While placing her teacup on the table with a confident look, I felt frightened. What? This is mine and Kate's house. The outsider here is you, Mom. What are you talking about? This house is in Victor's name, isn't it? It's impossible for a mother to be an outsider. I had been patient for a long time, but I thought it was better to make things clear, so I began to speak. Actually, the house is in my name. My mother-in-law's face stiffened for a moment. Then she suddenly started laughing. Haha, what are you talking about all of a sudden? You don't need to act so deaf. No, I'm being normal. This house is in my name. I continued to calmly convey the truth, holding back my emotions. Stop joking around. There's still time to apologize. I'm not lying. This house is in Kate's name. Victor's calm response suddenly changed my mother-in-law's expression, and her face quickly turned red. Why? How can you say that so calmly? I can't believe you're living in a house under your wife's name. Kate's mother previously owned some real estate and decided to pass it on to Kate. That's why the rent from the tenants here contributes to our income. This was Kate's suggestion. Victor explained the situation to his mother. My mother had been working hard, buying real estate for the future, and saving the rental income for her retirement. When the assets reached a certain level, my mother told me she would transfer them to me, which coincidentally happened around the time I decided to marry. So, I proposed to Victor that we use one of the rooms for ourselves and rent out the rest. Although initially hesitant about the house being in the wife's name rather than the husband's, Victor was pleased with the suggestion and praised me. That's a wonderful idea. How did you come up with that? Saving up for trips and meals together was fun. This is something we decided together, so I don't want you to interfere. If you can't accept that, I want you to leave. I can't believe it. With those words left hanging, my mother-in-law quietly returned to her room. The next day, she continued to stay in her room, and when I returned from work, only the remnants of the meal I had prepared were left on the living room table. Even when Victor came home, there was no change in my mother-in-law's situation. How's my mom doing? She's been in her room the whole time. Hearing that, Victor went to my mother-in-law's room and knocked on the door. Mom, we need to talk. It was as if she had been waiting for someone to call her, and she immediately opened the door. She might have wanted someone to care. Victor pulled out a key from his pocket and handed it to her. What is this? I contacted the real estate agent you turned down before and arranged for a replacement apartment. It's fully furnished and ready to live in right away. I see, then I'll enjoy living on my own. Leaving those words behind, she quickly packed her things and left. She might have been packing all day. Given how quickly the door opened, she might have been waiting to be asked to stay. Watching her leave, various thoughts crossed my mind, but only I knew my true feelings. I want to continue living with you just like before. I've caused a lot of trouble. Thank you. Huh? Thank you for protecting me and caring about me. I look forward to continuing this journey with you. As Victor was about to apologize again, I intentionally interrupted him. There was no need for Victor to apologize. Likewise, I look forward to more time together. Saying this, Victor smiled happily and hugged me. We have our own lives. We have our own rules. No matter what others say, if we are okay with it, that's all that matters. Hey, shall we go on a trip on our next day off? That sounds great. Let's plan where to go. Just imagining a future with this person makes me feel like I can overcome the daily work and challenges. I vowed to myself to do my best tomorrow, too. Now the house is mine. If you have any complaints, let's get a divorce. I felt giddy as Ben happily told me he had changed the house to his name shortly after my father's death. There's no way such a change of ownership could be that easy. I thought Ben might be misunderstanding something. If that's the case, I don't mind getting a divorce, but won't you regret it? Not expecting me to agree to a divorce, Ben exclaimed in surprise. What? There's no way I would regret it. Ben replied with full confidence. Will he truly not regret it? If so, I won't hold back either. If he regrets it later, it's not my concern. I laughed inwardly at Ben's naive thinking. I am Kathy Anderson, a 35-year-old public servant with a hard-working personality. I believe that my current profession as a public servant suits me the most. When I passed the civil service exam, my parents were very happy. It was because I was always told by my father to aim for a stable job as much as possible. If I was asked whether civil service jobs are stable, I'd have to say there's no certainty in modern society. However, at present, there are no major troubles, and I expect to continue working as a public servant. There's a reason why my father recommended a stable job. After graduating from university, he chose to work at a startup. Filled with enthusiasm for his new career, he aimed to improve his skills and jumped into a company with only 10 employees. However, sustaining a business for years is a significant challenge. The company my father joined unfortunately went bankrupt after 2 years. While struggling to find a suitable reemployment, my father decided to start his own business. Lacking experience, he started in the food industry and gradually grew his business. As the number of stores increased, he hired many employees and kept an eye on daily sales and profits. Since most of the stores were operated in renovated vacant houses or owned properties, there was no worry about rent. As a result, as the number of customers increased, the revenue grew, and he built a considerable fortune over 35 years. However, he also experienced many hardships during that process. The instability of a life as an entrepreneur accumulated daily stress. As profits began to rise, people motivated by money gathered, leading to difficulties in human relationships. Sometimes, employees would even take off with the store's funds. Building wealth was not easy. Therefore, I think my father wanted me to avoid the hardships he experienced and wished for a comfortable life for me. I am satisfied with my job as a public servant, a job that suits my nature. While not affluent, I can maintain a normal life without any issues. Hence, I believe stable days like these are the best. I'll be home late tomorrow, so I don't need dinner. That was my husband, Ben, informing me. This wasn't the first time he had said this. After dinner, while I was washing the dishes, I asked while wiping my hands, "Working overtime again? Is the factory that busy?" "It's a busy period right now." Ben works in a semiconductor manufacturing plant on the assembly line. Having worked in this job for 18 years since graduating high school can be extremely challenging, considering you process parts every day for 8 hours straight. It's nothing for me, but for Ben it seems to be easier than using his brain. I can understand since semiconductors have been scarce recently. Must be tough. Yes, so I might be a bit late. Understood. Take care. Lately, it's become common for him to come home late, sometimes not returning until after midnight in the worst case. I can hardly believe he's working this late, so he's probably having a drink somewhere after work. I understand the urge to unwind with alcohol, but I feel the frequency has increased too much. However, it's difficult to say that to Ben. Telling him not to drink when he's exhausted from his daily demanding job might provoke a backlash. Fortunately, his drinking expenses are covered by his own allowance, so it's not a big issue. As I watch Ben head to the bedroom, I roll my shoulders extensively. Lately, my shoulder pain has worsened. Life with Ben is full of mismatches, and it seems like the mental stress is starting to manifest itself physically. I try to tell myself not to overthink. I met Ben during my second year of high school. He was attending a nearby boys' high school and approached me during a cultural festival. Initially hesitant when the younger Ben asked for my contact information, I eventually gave in to his persistent approach. When I asked why he was so interested in someone as plain as me, he shyly admitted that he liked my appearance. On the other hand, I had a rather frivolous impression of Ben at first, so I was quite worried. However, contrary to my expectations, his sincere personality became evident, and I gradually found myself drawn to him. Even after Ben started working post-high school and I became a civil servant following university, he has always been my partner. We got married at 27 but haven't been blessed with children. It may not be possible anymore, but I feel our life together is not bad. As long as I can spend the future with the present Ben, that's enough. He probably feels the same. In the midst of these peaceful yet busy days, an unexpected call came to my phone. Hello? Kathy. Oh, good. You're there. Are you at work? Yes, what's up? A call from my mother during a weekday in the afternoon was unusual, signaling something must have happened. I asked her why she called. We have a problem. Your father suddenly collapsed. And today, we got the results from the tests. He's been diagnosed with colon cancer. Dad has cancer? I can't believe it. The word cancer from my mother left me shocked. We've never had cancer in our family before. But it's true that my father, being a business owner, had neglected his health checkups. So, it's not surprising that the disease was discovered late. I'm telling the truth. And it seems to be quite advanced. That's terrible. But aren't there advanced treatments for cancer these days? Unfortunately, in his case, they said he only has a few months left. A few months? That's unbelievable. It was an unbearable reality. At 60, my father's rapid cancer progression made sense. Due to the late discovery, the cancer was terminal, and despite medical advancements, treatment would be challenging. My mother explained through tears. I understand. I'll return home for a bit. I'll talk to Ben too. That would be helpful, Kathy. My father is an important figure to me. I couldn't just stand by when he's in trouble. Ben would understand. Distracted, I finished my work and headed home. Ben, who had returned home unusually early, noticed my somber demeanor and asked, "What's wrong? You seem down." Ben was enjoying a beer in the living room. I shared everything about my mother's call with Ben and discussed returning to my parents' home for a while. That's worrisome. Understood. Support your father while you're there. Thank you. Sorry for not being able to prepare meals while I'm away. No problem. I've been getting home late from work lately. I'll just eat out in the meantime. But you should have a proper meal once in a while. Don't worry, I'll be careful. Ben listened calmly. Feeling reassured, I started packing for my trip home the next day. As bedtime approached and I was about to head to my room, I heard Ben's voice on the phone from his room. He must be talking to someone. I didn't intend to eavesdrop, but I stopped in my tracks when I caught a snippet of his conversation. It seems he will pass away soon. Can you do something about the matter we discussed earlier? Pass away? Was he talking about my father? Yes, that's right. I understand. Please take care of it once he's gone. It wasn't clear who he was talking to or what the arrangement was, but it was evident that the conversation was about my father's situation. Why use such a term as gone? Ben had never spoken disrespectfully about my father, even if their relationship wasn't especially close. Ben wasn't the type to be indifferent in such a critical situation. Yet, why does it seem like Ben doesn't care about my father? Even though my father is terminally ill, he is still alive, and discussing matters after he is gone with someone else is inappropriate. At that moment, my trust in Ben wavered. Since then, I couldn't shake off my suspicions about Ben. Take care, Ben said cheerfully as he saw me off, but I couldn't stop thinking about his phone conversation on my way home. It seemed like he was plotting something. If it's related to my father, it must be about money. I never told Ben about the extent of my father's wealth. I felt discussing finances might lead to problems, so I decided we could discuss inheritance when the time came. At this stage, I didn't see the necessity to talk about it. I wasn't hiding it. I just thought it was premature. But what if Ben knew about my father's wealth and was targeting it? I shouldn't think about it too much. While trying to dispel these negative thoughts, I spent time supporting my father and enjoying pleasant conversations. I'm grateful, Kathy, Mom. I'm a lucky man. You don't have to be so formal. It's too early to be thankful. We tried to maintain a cheerful atmosphere while looking at my father's calm smile. The last moments with my father ended 3 months later. Neither my mother nor I were fully prepared for the premature goodbye. During the funeral, I was in a daze, struggling to accept the reality that my father was no longer in this world. On the other hand, Ben was oddly cheerful, which felt unsettling to me. It wasn't until a week after the funeral, as I was drinking alone in the living room, that Ben approached and said, "The hassle is finally over." Crossing his arms and clasping his hands behind his head, he spoke with a cold gaze. "Hassle? Yes, exactly. I was hoping your father would kick the bucket a bit sooner. But even after that, there were still procedures like the funeral to deal with, so it was a pain in the butt." "How can you say that? Someone has died, my father at that. How can you talk like that?" I couldn't help but retort to Ben's astonishing statement. It became clear that Ben had actually wished for my father's early death. I remembered the phone conversation about my father. What were Ben's true intentions? When can we receive the inheritance? Your family is quite wealthy, right? I know there's a substantial fortune to be had. At that moment, I understood what Ben had been aiming for. I never imagined Ben would have his eyes on my family's wealth. I had never discussed my family's financial situation with Ben. However, it seems Ben knew that my father had substantial assets. "You look like you're wondering how I knew." I can understand. My family was always poor. Securing daily meals was a struggle. On the other hand, I heard your family was wealthy and your parents often went on trips. Just that fact alone made it clear your family was affluent. That's why I made some inquiries beforehand. Inquiries? With whom? Ben used the word inquiries after guessing my family's financial situation. The day Ben was on the phone in the bedroom flashed through my mind, and I wondered if that was the inquiry he mentioned. I asked a real estate lawyer acquaintance about the old man's inheritance. "I'm going to make sure to receive the inheritance properly." "What?" I was shocked that he had discussed the inheritance with someone else without my consent, and doing so while my father was still alive. At that moment, I began to doubt whether the person in front of me was truly my husband. "You'll get a response soon. Just wait." With that, Ben returned to the bedroom. He was probably going to contact that lawyer again. I was just astonished by his unbelievable actions. Why would he investigate my family's inheritance on his own? Is there any other spouse who would do such a thing? Inheritance is a matter our family should discuss, not for Ben to get involved in. My trust in his actions wavered, and I started avoiding conversations with him. We spent some time without speaking, but the situation changed drastically a month later. Putting aside Ben's previous comments on inheritance, the estate was formally transferred to my mother and me. I inherited my father's mansion worth $2 million and felt the weight of this asset. I had no intention of moving into the mansion right away, and it seemed a waste to just leave it unused. While I was contemplating whether to turn it into a vacation home or sell it, Ben suddenly spoke to me after not having exchanged words for days. "Hey, Kathy, how are you doing?" How ironic, considering we lived under the same roof. Ignoring his words, I reached for a book nearby, but he continued, "Listen, I've changed the ownership of the mansion you inherited to my name." I stopped reading and stared at him in astonishment. "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, I asked that real estate lawyer to proceed with the title transfer." "You did a title transfer, really?" "Yes, really." I was speechless. Not only did he do it behind my back, I also had a problem with the lawyer involved. Now the house is mine. If you have a problem with that, we can get a divorce. And I'll be giving the house to my family. My brother has been wanting a larger house, so I want to make him happy. Just after my father's death, Ben was happily talking about changing the house to his name, and I felt dizzy. It seemed unlikely that a title transfer could be done so easily. And for his family to move in? I thought Ben might be misunderstanding something, but was at a loss for words. His actions infuriated me, and I couldn't let this go. It would be better to plan and retaliate rather than confront him with words. If that's the case, I don't mind getting a divorce, but won't you regret it? Ben seemed surprised that I would accept a divorce so readily. Regret? There's no way I would. Ben replied with full confidence. Will he truly not regret it? If so, I won't hold back either. If he regrets it later, that's his problem. I smirked inwardly at Ben's naivety. I decided to use every means possible to gather information about Ben's personal life. I decided to take a vacation and inspect Ben's room while he was at work. Ben's room was a mess, with various items scattered all over the floor. There, I found something and quietly slipped it into my pocket. Next, I reached for the computer on Ben's desk and launched the messaging app. I see, this person is the real estate lawyer dealing with legal issues. The messages exchanged with James Owen were appalling. They were mostly about money. The discussions were about how to illicitly acquire funds. I sighed in surprise. It seemed pitiful that Ben was following such a person's instructions. After leaving the room, I headed to a certain location. After repeating tiring tasks, I went to confirm Ben's greed. The deeper I investigated, the more I realized what kind of person I've actually been living with. That sent a chill down my spine. After concluding the investigation about Ben and feeling completely detached, I decided to file for divorce. My marriage with Ben ended legally once the divorce papers got granted at the municipal office. It was an unexpected separation, but I no longer had any affection towards Ben, who disdained my father. The Ben I knew was nowhere to be found. The investigation revealed Ben to be an unbelievable person. After submitting the divorce papers, the house was no longer mine. In fact, the house was purchased in Ben's name from the beginning, with a mortgage taken out. I considered moving out, but Ben did not return to the house afterward. He's probably living in the mansion I inherited. He might be living comfortably now, but how long will that happiness last? I calmly thought about Ben's future. 3 days later, Ben finally appeared before me. "Kathy, has the divorce already been granted?" he asked anxiously as he entered through the front door. He came back suddenly and asked an impertinent question, to which I responded, "What? So, we're divorced, right?" Ben exclaimed loudly. He seemed to be in extreme distress. "Yes, it was granted 3 days ago. So, we are now strangers to each other." What does that mean?" Disappointment gradually appeared on Ben's face. Despite his own desire for divorce, I wished he wouldn't adopt a blaming attitude. "Why would you make such a unilateral decision? Divorce, really? Unilateral? You're the one who wanted a divorce, remember? What are you talking about now?" Ben fell silent at my logical response. His sudden issue with the divorce was clear to me. "Kathy, please, let's start over. Otherwise, I'll." Ben knelt down, looking dejected. While feeling sorry for him, I asked, "Did something happen?" I had a rough idea of what was going on, but decided to delve deeper. "Just now, debt collectors came looking for me. I tried contacting James Owen, but he seems to have changed his phone number and I can't get through. I sent an email but got no response. It looks like I've been deceived by him." James Owen was that self-proclaimed real estate lawyer. While Ben's explanation was fragmented, I grasped the gist of the situation. It became clear what Ben had been involved in when I searched through his room. "It seems you were obsessed with gambling. There were gambling receipts scattered all over your room. I also investigated your visits to the local casino. You've been going there for almost a year, right? Is that why you ran out of funds?" Checking our joint bank account, I noticed gradual withdrawals that I couldn't recall, and it turned out you were also taking money from our savings. "Is that why you were duped by that real estate lawyer?" "Exactly. Ben had been secretly spending his days gambling without my knowledge. The reason for his late returns was not due to drinking parties but because of gambling. When the inheritance from my father came up, it must have seemed like an opportunity for him. He had consulted with the so-called real estate lawyer Owen on how to get his hands on the inheritance." "Yes, that's right. I know gambling is wrong, but I was deceived by that person. The grand mansion that Kathy inherited didn't become mine. I'll go bankrupt at this rate. That would be sad, right? That's why I'm asking for help." How ironic of him to propose divorce only to beg for reconciliation later. I felt contempt rather than anger for the pitiful behavior of my former partner. Has he forgotten that he secretly wished for my father's death and insulted him? I couldn't even consider that man as my ex-husband. What are you talking about? You're the problem, aren't you? Sympathy. I have no such feelings for you. After all, getting deceived was also due to your carelessness. The real estate inherited from my father is in my name and not subject to division. Changing its ownership without consent is impossible. Yet, you were naive enough to get deceived by James Owen, and now you come asking for help? I will never forgive you, not in a lifetime. Seeing my face filled with anger, Ben got scared. I opened the front door, leaving him aside. If you don't mind, I will move to the luxurious house I inherited from my father. As for you, try to manage your life in this house. Oh, and don't forget about the loan repayment. Good luck. Wait, despite his call from behind, I coldly left him behind and walked away with dignity. 7 days later, I was surprised by an unexpected call. Seeing the name displayed on the screen, I couldn't believe my eyes. It was Ben's mother. I answered the phone, anxious that she might criticize me for the divorce. However, the words I heard were completely unexpected and surprising. Kathy, I'm truly sorry. My son seems to have committed something unforgivable towards you. I'm honestly at a loss for words on how to apologize. Her voice was filled with deep regret and apology. I responded with some confusion. No, there's no need for an apology. Please don't worry about it. But she didn't accept my words. No, I can't just leave things as they are. I heard my son is trying to have you shoulder his debt repayments, and I'm both shocked and profoundly disappointed. We plan to give him strict guidance at home from now on. I've warned him to be prepared for a tough time. We won't let him gamble ever again, and we'll teach him the importance of money management. For a while, he'll have to take on all responsibilities for work and home life on his own, she expressed her firm resolve. Ben's mother felt strong anger towards her son's inappropriate actions, and he was about to face some harsh days, she passionately explained. I secretly hoped to see how Ben would confront this, feeling this was a just retribution for him, who scorned my father and tried to swindle away the property I cherished. I had no ounce of sympathy for him. I genuinely hoped he would dedicate himself to repaying his debts. And as planned, I moved to the magnificent mansion I inherited from my father. This new home, furnished and requiring no additional purchases, filled me with a profound sense of satisfaction for the new life ahead. Although I left behind clothes and other small items at the old house, the excitement for the liberating life ahead made me unstoppable. The new residence was spacious, an extravagance for one person. Currently, I'm not keen on remarrying. However, if fate smiles at me and I meet a soulmate again, I'll invite that special person to this expansive living space. Imagining the expression on the future spouse's face as they enter this house brought a smile to mine. This hopeful anticipation is a significant light of hope for me now. And I sincerely say, thank you, Dad. This valuable house, his last gift, is more than a physical space. It's the foundation for starting a new life, a place that connects me to the past and steps into the future.